Everybody, my name is Tiffany Summer Johnson, and I am the product marketing manager here at Certiport. And I work with Microsoft and cover our Microsoft Office Specialist program. We're really happy to have all of you joining us today. This is the 9th of our Certified Academy business webinars. So feel free to drop in the chat where you're from. Let us know where you're located and what courses you teach. And we can kind of have some fun saying hello to everyone this morning. The session is being recorded, so I want everybody to know that. And you will receive a link after the session with the full recording. So don't worry about taking screenshots or anything like that. All of our attendees are currently muted, like I said, but we will set aside some time at the end of the presentation for Q&A if you have any questions for our panelists at that time. So you can send them through the Q&A. We won't answer them immediately as they come up, but we will answer them at the end. This session is being sponsored. Whoops, one second. This work. There we go. This session is being sponsored by, Microsoft and the Microsoft Office Specialist programs. So sorry, I lost my slides. Let's stop sharing because it's my screen. We'll go back to this. But this session is focused on Microsoft Office Specialist. The Microsoft Office Specialist program and certification provides industry-leading assessments of skills and knowledge, giving students and professionals real-world exercises to appraise their understanding of Microsoft Office. In the US, over 1.17 million jobs request Microsoft Office skills. With a MOS certification, learners can prove that they have the skills to be more effective and productive, as well as have higher work quality. We'll drop the link into the chat for you to learn more about the MOS certification if you don't know, but that's what we're talking about today. So today we are talking about partnering with businesses. We'll be learning from 3 incredible panelists. I'm going to introduce them really quickly. Our first panelist is Denise Spence. Denise has been an educator for almost 25 years. She has earned her master's degree in curriculum and instruction, emphasis in instructional technology. And over the years, Denise has taught the correlated course content and earned various IT certification credentials. Her accomplishments include being selected as one of 3 finalists for Lee County's Teacher of the Year in 2000. She was the first ever Career and Technology Education Teacher of the Year for Lee County in 2006. She was named Certiport's Global Summit's Teacher of the Year for 2010. And then Denise was a 2011 and 2012 finalist for Microsoft's Innovation Forum. She currently runs the technology program at Dunbar High School, and she's an adjunct professor at Florida Gulf Coast University. So welcome, Denise. Our second panelist is Kevin Bernstein. Kevin's vast experience as a hiring manager and career development coach, both large and small businesses, makes him perfect for this panel. He has a unique background that combines technology, psychology, and education. His experience spans executive and senior technology leadership, small business ownership, adjunct professorship, clinical treatment practice, leadership coaching, and sales management with a concentration in the technology, finance, and mental health industries. He earned his Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology and a Master's of Science degree in marriage and family therapy from California State University System. And currently, Kevin works at a company called Software One, and he's out of Seattle. And his title, I started to write it down, but Kevin's going to have to share that with all of you in a moment because it's a little bit of a mouthful for someone that's not used to saying it often. And then our final panelist is Melissa Hortman. She's a senior industry executive with Microsoft. She leads the digital transformation and accelerating academic research across all of the U.S. higher education. Previous to being at Microsoft, Melissa spent 12 years in higher education and was most recently an associate professor and director of instructional technology at the Medical University of South Carolina. Melissa is passionate about empowering innovation in faculty and student resiliency to make higher education more agile and stronger during disruptions now and in the future. So welcome to our panelists. Thank you all for being here. We're really excited to have you. Kevin, do you want to say your title before we get started, since I couldn't do it justice?
Sure, why not? So company is Software One, and my title, believe it or not, is I am the Global Practice Director for Adoption, Change Management, Governance, Service Success, and Onboarding.
So there you have it.
There's no way to shorten that.
I know we've talked to Kevin before, and he is great because as far as Moss goes and technology and proving skills, I know that in the past, if not now, he's worked with businesses to find them talent that has the skills that they want, or helping them to train their talent to gain the skills. And Moss is a skill that we are promoting and trying to link to businesses as a valuable skill for people to have as they're entering the workforce or as they're skilling up in their careers. So thank you for being here again, everyone. First, now that I introduced you the formal way, let's have each of you tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do. So Denise, do you want to start with that?
Yeah, hi. So my name is Denise Spence. I'm the IT Programs Manager for Dunbar High School's Academy for Technology Excellence. We have been a academy since 2004. So we've offered over 33 industry credentials by the time a student graduates our high school. Me personally, I manage those programs. I'm instrumental in developing a business advisory committee, connecting with our vendors, and just overall community relations, getting our students out there into the community.
Awesome. That's perfect again for this call. I'm being a part of the Moss team here at Certiport. This is our constant conversation is how do we help businesses and the community and even the learners understand the importance of Moss and that skill and connect them to the businesses in the community. So that's wonderful. Great to hear that. Kevin, how about you?
It's probably easier to say what I don't do than what I do. No, I'm kidding. So what my primary function is that I develop programs and services to have technology adopted within the companies that we serve. So we are one of, actually, I think we are the largest Microsoft channel partner. So Microsoft, big shout out for our partnership there. Part of what my team does is making sure that what Microsoft and Software One, what we service and what we sell, companies can actually adopt. People can actually use the technologies. And we see, I operate around the globe, so I see a lot of the same challenges no matter where we go, which is there's gaps in digital literacy. There's lots of gaps on people being able to actually use some of the software that we think is just so commonplace out there, and it just isn't. My core team is 24 people from 11 countries, and I also run a secondary team of over 50 people, and we operate in 90 countries. So I have a lot of broad experience of where these gaps are and what those challenges are.
Awesome. We're going to get into those gaps in just a minute, Kevin. Thank you so much. And Melissa, a little bit more about you, if you have a moment.
Yeah. So I'm still fairly new at Microsoft. I've only been at Microsoft for about 1 year and 3 months, so I can claim being a newbie. But coming from higher education, my entire career was spent there. I was in the classroom, and I was having to adjust a lot in a lot of different times, the curriculum development side and my syllabi every semester, my content, keeping it up to date. So what I really stressed with a lot of my students in my classes was how can we kind of look forward and create opportunities for transferable skills that we can build within the classroom and take into our careers. I trained a lot of the professional students who were going for maybe from a T-level grant with the NIH to an R-level grant with the NIH, and that's a big jump. And so being able to go from a team member to a leader is a big difference in the science world. So it was a lot of fun. And so now I get to help faculty across the US innovate in their classrooms and in their curriculum today.
Awesome. I love that. Well, thank you. I think, again, just proof that this is going to be a really interesting panel today. I think we've covered all the aspects of it. Kevin mentioned it, and you sort of spoke to it a little bit too, Melissa. What gaps do you guys currently see in the skills that are being taught in the classroom to needs in the career and workforce space? Anybody want to open that discussion up?
So I'll start. since I started before. So personally, I see the gap as being making the connection between what they're learning in the classroom and making it and what they're going to use it for out in the the business world. I deal with high school, and I also teach at Florida Gulf Coast University, actually Microsoft Office skills as well. Okay. And so I think that they can see it once they get to the college level, because they're using it in all of their coursework, and then transferring that idea that it's not just for coursework, but also for when they get out into the business world. I like to emphasize that, hey, this is something you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. Your Excel is not going to be just here in this classroom at this point in time. It's literally going to be infiltrated throughout everything you do until you retire. And even then, there's some people that retire and do other things and use the tools.
We have a stat, I want to say it's 79, 82, something like that % of people use Microsoft Office at work. So that's right now. So you're not going to get away from it. Like you said, it's not just for your coursework. You will be using it forever, and hopefully
use it for community stuff. Use it for, if you're involved in your community organizations, you're using it for everything. And it's, I think if you don't know those tools, those are powerhouse tools. Those are the tools for life. So you got to get to know them and use them for life type skills.
Yeah, I use them for budgeting at home, right? I mean, this is not just at the workplace. This is hopefully skills that they'll end up utilizing, but also enjoying utilization, since it's going to be a lifetime of use. Any other thoughts on that, Kevin and Melissa?
I'll add that I think while the technology is important, there was a recent LinkedIn report that just came out about the most in-demand skills for 2023. I think it came out maybe about a month ago. And some of those skills that I would say to integrate into the classroom right now, and to take those MOS skills and kind of extrapolate them across these opportunities, like communication, critical thinking, equity and inclusion, teamwork. Yes, technology is important. It's part of that, but it's not the only thing. Professionalism, all of kind of these soft skills that goes around some of the technology, I think, is just as important as the technology itself. So while I think we have these certifications and we go deeper and learning these tools, we also kind of need to think about and teach students, give them opportunities to learn kind of in those transferable sort of opportunities where they can use them for critical thinking, for communication, because that's what the business looks like, the industry looks like. So definitely bringing that into the classroom is a really good concept today.
I love that, Melissa. And Kevin, I want to let you go. Yeah. And I don't want to give too much of a plug here for Certiport, but we do have a certification that's called our CSB, which is Communication Skills for Business, Professional Communication. And that's one that a lot of teachers love. And students think, oh, this is easy. I know how to communicate. I'm on my phone all day. I'm talking all day, but they aren't communicating in a professional manner. And they're not understanding how they structure a sentence or even an email might apply in that setting. And so we have a few teachers that love to teach MOS with CSB, which is fun because you do need to have a holistic answer. You can't just be great at Excel and be horrible at communication or horrible at some of those other soft skills that you mentioned. Kevin, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
I fully agree with everything I just heard there. The soft skills piece is such an important part of what we do. In my business, in the Software One business, 50% of what we do is technology and 50% of it is people. There's that challenge, right? The technology can't stand alone by itself. We have to be able to teach, well, believe it or not, I see this in every country, teaching communication skills and teaching how to actually conduct oneself during a call like this. Am I going to be centered on the camera, or am I going to be talking to you like over here from the side, or better yet, sometimes I see people on calls like this, on professional business calls. Like, we can't do that. We really need to make sure that we're teaching how to use these skills properly. And beyond that, I mean, when I say basic skills, there's reports out there now that there's a whole generation that doesn't even know how to use a keyboard. Typing with two thumbs on a keyboard is really difficult, but typing on your phone with two thumbs is easy. So we have to look at things even from just a basic level of that. How to compose an email, how to actually work with some of the new tools that Microsoft is coming out with. I mean, $10 billion investment in AI. And now we have AI that's going to be, working as a co-pilot together with the Microsoft suite. Well, AI is wonderful, but at the same time, you get out what you put in. We have to know questions to ask, what kind of content, and then how is it relevant? The last point I'll make is about collaboration. Every technology company and we talk about collaboration all the time. What is my challenge to everybody is, what is the definition of collaboration? You ask 3 people, you get 4 answers because someone changed their mind. When you're collaborating on a document and then the wonderful red line comes through and crosses out what you wrote because somebody else commented on something because you're in a shared document, how does that feel when you've composed all this data and then someone crosses it out, right? So being able to work collaboratively in a document, as well as having communication and ability to express oneself, advocate for oneself, all of these things go beyond the tech. We have to work with the technology to achieve our outcomes. It's not going to be one or the other.
Yeah, agreed. I really appreciate that. I think it's, again, this call is supposed to be focused on Moss, and I love that, but we can't do it in a silo. We can't teach these kids these skills and not incorporate these other aspects of their life, of their career, of where they're headed. It just makes it even more, like Melissa had mentioned, where how am I going to use this in my real life? Like it means nothing if it doesn't attach to those other pieces. So I really appreciate that. What are some trends that you guys are seeing in the industry for skills needed beyond the soft skills? As far as Kevin, you mentioned AI, that's a big one. Other skills that you guys are seeing, anybody can take it. This is an open discussion. It doesn't have to be super formal. So,
well, there's been a lot of discussion around the whole AI model and how to use it and how to, take advantage of that as a tool versus worry about that as a hindrance or as a way to cheat. I think, I think of it as like when spell check came out, people were like, nobody's going to know how to spell, nobody's, things like that. They become great tools. And if we can repurpose some of the things that are, that are coming out like that and figure out how to, make and enhance what we're doing with them, I think that's what we're looking at, that there are consistent, upgrades to, the Microsoft Office suite itself. I've been in that suite since way back in 1998 or whatever, right? And the changes and the upgrades and the things that it can do now are far more superior. I feel like I have more of an accomplished piece, that I've put together, whether it be in a presentation tool or whether it's in a Excel spreadsheet, that I feel comfortable putting out there into, my governing bodies or my community organizations that I'm a part of. And I feel like, I look really good because the tool has helped me to do that,
Right.
Yeah. I think looking at these as enhancements is the right way to look at it. Especially with AI. I was talking to somebody about Microsoft just announced that they're investing in AI. They'll have something to combat the other one that just came out, we won't mention. But they said sort of the same thing when, I think it was when print material came out. There was this uproar. A couple hundred years ago or so, like that you could mass print things. They said everyone's going to be lazy. No one's going to do anything. And that could happen, right? You can, at that time, information was more accessible, so nobody had to go learn for themselves. You don't have to spell very well, but you have to know the construct. So we have to look at it as an enhancement, not wipe your hands clean. I'm just going to sit over here. And
I think you become a little more at ease with creation whenever you're not worrying so much about the spelling, right? I think that's but you still have to know what the word is that you're trying to get to and the ideas that you're trying to get to. So there's still some substance there. My husband will kill me, but like he's an architect and he spells cheese with a Z. But does that make him any less of a professional and knowledgeable in his area? No.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm very, very grateful for spell check. I can spell, I know how to spell. I was around before there was spell check, but I definitely rely on spell check before I send something out because I want to look professional. So
yeah, exactly. I see in the chat here that Leanne made a comment about that she used to teach keyboarding and typing. Yeah, I before this call I was thinking about that. I remember I had a typing and keyboarding class, right? Yep. But it seems to us it may seem like such a basic skill, but it really isn't. It goes beyond that. And then so I want to just acknowledge that the typing part. When it comes to AI is here to stay. This is it's not going away. We can push it away all you want. We can look at, what are the educational ethics involved with that? Is there cheating? Look, there's always going to be people cheating the system. That's just going to happen if we accept that. What we really need to do is look at how it's going to enhance our experience. How for instance, like with Microsoft Copilot, as we're typing out our emails, it may give us some suggestions, hey, or you may reword it this way, or maybe this might be more relevant to the topic. I mean, it's just going to enhance how we need to do things, which means we have to change our educational game. It has to step up a bit because now we're no longer teaching just the basic skills. Now we have to start teaching that logical, critical thinking aspect. How do we use the technology to enhance what we do and not just do it for us, right? And that's going to be a big difference. And then the other side of that, when you look behind the AI technology, no longer will the industry be looking for basic programmers. We're now, there's a huge opening now, a whole field is opening up of AI programmers. So there's a giant opportunity for people to enter the programming language field and look at AI and ML or machine learning and artificial intelligence. And those are where the jobs are going, right? And it's not, but at the same time, in order to get there, you have to know how to collaborate with each other. You have to know how to do documentation. You have to have meetings. You have to be held responsible and accountable. And all of that stuff will get you there. They're just not going to be automatic jobs that open up and say, pick you, and you. We still have to teach people how to adult, and adulting's hard. Not everyone's going to be a TikTok star. Not everyone's going to be a YouTube, millionaire. And, we've got to teach these skills of how to land these jobs.
Well, and I think, Kevin, you've got to start with the basics of Moss is a perfect example of that.
Exactly.
It's not basic. I mean, we have another exam called IC3, which is just computer basics here. It doesn't focus on Microsoft, but Moss is a great core skill to have if you're headed into AI. It doesn't matter if you're headed into Azure, whatever, you need that basics and you can't really skip over it because it's like if you're learning, I don't know, calculus, you can't miss algebra. You can't skip geometry. You need those pieces. And I think that's what Moss provides. I'm going to ask another question as we're talking about this gap. What do you guys see as ways that educators can prepare students with those workforce demanded skills? Obviously, we're talking about certification as being one of those ways. And if you want to extrapolate on what kind of certification or how certification is taught or other skills, we kind of darted around that as well. But what do you guys see as ways to prepare students with those workforce demanded skills?
I'll chime in here. I think every job in the future, well, not in the future now, is a tech job.
Right.
With Moss, every job is a tech job. So everyone needs to know these fundamental skills. So it's starting there. I think it's not changing curriculum, but it's integrating this into curriculum. It's supplementing curriculum with these certifications or Microsoft Learn paths or whatever it might be to be able to enhance that experience where they're getting not just the fundamental learning from the classroom, but maybe some of that industry knowledge. So with the AI burst, Microsoft released a Microsoft Learn pathway on OpenAI and what it is. And I went through it because I thought, well, I need to know what a large language model is now, right? I used to just use it from the front end with the coding side, but now I need to know the back end. I need to know what these things are, because if I do truly want to use them, and it's permeating across all industries, all jobs, all job titles even. And if I want to use them, then I need to understand them from the fundamental level, sometimes to the advanced level. But it's kind of thinking about that. You know, I think there's so many resources out there, from the certifications where it is that very formal. You know, it can help students be more competitive, to learn pathways to supplement. There's so many ways that you can take what industry is putting out there already and enhance that curriculum. So I would challenge educators to really think about how they could elevate their own coursework. They don't have to be the experts. Somebody has already made it, right? So like, take what's out there and bring it into the classroom to help those students grow.
Love it. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Denise,
I think also having students do real work. You know, sometimes we give them fake projects that don't have a tie to anything. Yeah. You know, oftentimes we'll have, and I hate to say, we have businesses that come to us that want things like, hey, can your students do this? Because, you know, we know that you're that Microsoft school, blah, 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 you know, for free. But, you know, if you can give them tasks that, you know, that they then will see out, like they'll make an invitation for some business for whatever their big hoopla is, yeah. or they'll put together a presentation for onboarding for a local business. You know, so those are the skills, you know, then they have a purpose-driven project versus a project just for the sake of learning the skills, I think is where you really want to go. It is really hard to get buy-in on something that you don't have buy-in for. So why am I learning this? What's the purpose? But if, you know, I have like the student who's getting ready to compete at the national level for the Microsoft Office PowerPoint. For him, he's actually preparing. This is how he's preparing, okay? He is watching a YouTuber who does PowerPoints and learning all the cool skill sets that this YouTuber does with PowerPoints, because he wants to really like not only pass the test, which he's already done, but he wants to, like, whenever he has to produce that document, you know, in PowerPoint, he wants to be able to do something really cool that's going to, you know, blow everyone away. So, you know, purpose driven, right? Yeah. So I think that's the real goal. Whenever you're thinking of projects and things for your students, make sure that you think in terms of why would they want to do this project?
How would it apply? I love that. And Denise, you actually just sort of answered part of the question that we have. That's this one's kind of directed to you. How have you connected your students with the workforce to help them gain needed experience? It sounds like you have employers that are coming to you and, well, wanting some free work done, but
we also get internships, honestly. Yeah, I mean, we have the combination. You know, we have the gamut. Community people that come that have special projects they need help with, and then we have actual connected to local businesses that actually hire our students for pay. So they will get internships, and you know, and they're looking at those resumes of our students and hoping they have those industry certifications on there as a piece. Now they still have to go through the whole interview process, which is a learning experience in itself. We run through with them those kinds of skills, how to build a resume, you know, which they have to, you know, put out there to the business partners. It's not just a slam dunk for them, right. Although, you know, when they meet and see our students and hear about how many certifications a student has and their background. I remember the very first one we got, which was with a local bank, and the student, you know, got basically he got the A+ certification and all the Microsoft Office certifications. And the bank's like, yeah, we'll hire him. We'll have him get coffee. And then he started to show his skill sets. Yeah. Then he passed the Network Plus certification, and boom, there he was doing the IT stuff for them, you know, as a 9th grader.
That's incredible.
Which is, you know, very unheard of, you know.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I think we're hoping to communicate more and help give educators some ideas on how to do that kind of partnering. That's the next part of that question is for Kevin and Kristen. Really, anybody can answer though. How can educators more effectively connect with those in industry looking for prospective talent? I think Denise sort of opened that door, but if you guys have any ideas of how educators can do that, or a really good way to do that, duplicate
Sure.
that.
First thing I would say is expand upon your personal and professional network. LinkedIn is an amazing way to do that. Look at your local towns or townships or cities that you live in. Identify some of the companies that are parts of city councils, parts of there's a lot of local resources that you can do. Reach out to those people, explain that the importance of the connection, and just again build that relationship. At the same time, your students can also help with this, by doing research on these companies and reporting on that, and then working collaboratively, again, there's that word, on helping the educator strategize on how best to make the connection. Let's have the students be involved in this as well. This isn't just for the educator to do. Denise, I'm going to go back to something you said a second ago about, when we were talking about Excel and all the other tools. The Microsoft Office suite is 23 different products. And there's opportunities for people all across this entire range for people to get involved. If you creating a really robust role play scenario based within a company, you'll get people interested in marketing. Well, maybe they'll use Microsoft Sway. You'll get people that are looking for the PowerPoint side. Maybe you'll have someone for that. And then there's the planner for project managers. There's so many different tools that can appeal to such a wide range of the students, so that what we can do is we have them help us connect to business. So create those connections, and you're just, again, I know there's a lot of pressure on educators to perform. There's lots of things you have to do. I get it. I have been one. At the same time, you're not alone in this. There's so much brain power that your students have that can actually help strategize and then celebrate the successes and also celebrate the failures. If something didn't work, let's talk about why it didn't work. And that's great, because it's just one more step to learning.
I love that. I love involving the kids, because it goes back to, I think Denise said it first, giving them a real world reason why they wanted it. Maybe it was you, Melissa, somebody said it, but I think it all kind of comes back to that. Why would I want to do this? Well, having them help you strategize which employers to go to, where do they want to work? Look at that company. Do they need Excel, somebody that has Excel? What job could you have at that company? Do a little research, and then the teacher can help reach out. That's a fairly intimidating thing to do, right? Sure. Some of these businesses might want, I'll let you go in 1 second, Denise. Some of these businesses might want an unpaid internship, right? And after they do it unpaid, and the student or students have fabulous skills and start moving up really quickly and start helping with other things, they may come back next year and say, hey, we want to pay for this internship, right? Go ahead, Denise.
Well, I know that the hard part of my job is to connect, right? But I'll share one of the things I do. So at the beginning of every year, I host a business breakfast, and I invite as many people that I can connect with that want to come. Now, I have developed enough following that I have the budget to do a nice breakfast where I pay for it. And honestly, and the businesses, because they donate money, it ends up being they really pay for it, but it's, kind of one of those kind of caveats. It's kind of like once you develop that relationship, develop that funnel, then you can start doing more of these things. And I invite them to, and they meet the students at this breakfast. The students bring their resumes to the breakfast, and then we showcase. Some of the students get to speak at the breakfast and showcase some of the things that they're doing. And then in turn, they make connections, with the businesses. So if you could have a way to host an event and invite your community in, I would highly recommend it, because that is one of the ways. Now, I also, because of my role, get to go to their events, which is hard for a teacher. I get that. I mean, I understand that piece. It is hard because you're in the
classroom all day.
You're in the classroom all day.
Right.
But if you can make it an evening event or a Rotary Club, or be a member of one of those, I'm a member of a lot of community organizations, those are your connections too. And you say, hey, let me tell you about, the elevator pitch, about your school, about what you're doing. come join my business advisory committee, which I have that once a month. I have a meeting once a month where, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the same people around the table as my philosophy. You can have different philosophy, and different people come around the table and we talk about where we are, what kinds of things they can bring, and then, go from there. So I think, really step outside of your school if you can, and get people into your school if you can. Those guest speakers, things like that, that's going to help to make those connections for your students.
Yeah, I love that. Melissa, anything you wanted? No,
Y'all, you hit the nail on the head. Those are all the things that I was thinking about and that I think are fabulous to really do. And I would challenge everybody. The first step is just to reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out. I love when educators reach out and ask for resources, ask for support, ask. The worst that people can say is no. And I will tell you, a majority of the time, if not all the time, we're saying yes, because that's what we're here for too. Industry is here to support education. We know that there is a pipeline from education into industry. And so we are pouring back into education at all levels. And I think that that's really important to know is we're here for you. We're here for the educators. We're here to partner with you. We're here to show up to breakfast and be on advisory boards. That is our job. That's our job. So we're here to show up. And so it's a simple ask. Don't be afraid to ask, and even challenge your students, to write that. How do you write a cold email to somebody or connect with somebody on LinkedIn? And what's that message that I would send to somebody in this specific role that maybe I admire? I think challenging them even, getting them involved, right, in the experience, is really it's a fun opportunity for everybody, because again, we're here to say yes and to be involved in those things.
I love that. Yeah. I can go through I'll just read the next two questions because we've actually headed down the road, if not answered the questions, but maybe it'll spark more thoughts. But basically, what practical steps can educators take to be able to prepare students for the future? I think we've kind of hit on a lot of that, but I'll let you guys think about it. How do you build a funnel between local business and your classroom? We've definitely covered some great options there. And then what advice would you give for educators looking to partner with local businesses? I think we've sort of done that, but anybody else have kind of final things they want to comment on any of those areas as far as?
A couple things come to mind. First of all, what I said at the beginning was that we are 50% technology and then 50% social or people. And I think this discussion, again, validated that, right? We have to have the basic skill sets. We have to have, the Microsoft skill sets, especially. And, the technology is just a part of it. Every job is a technology job. Fine. And we have to be able to connect socially. So my advice would be to start small. We don't have to tackle everything all at once. Build a local advisory board, something like that. Just start very, very small. Be flexible. Understand that there will be some no's along the way, and be transparent about those no's with the students as well. Because I think if we can teach that resiliency and in transparency in the classroom, that's a skill set that they'll be able to translate very well into modern workplaces, because resiliency is something that is sorely needed. And like I said, celebrate the successes along the way and have the students really help out. Those are my recommendations. As a part of my practice that we do is we do a lot of role play scenario, a lot of scenarios, lots of role plays. We will take case studies, and granted, I'm doing this with a working community, but it's the same. It transfers. It's the same thing. Take a real world scenario, a case study, contact a company. Microsoft has case studies. I know you do, because we've used them, and really look into those case studies and start dissecting and start role playing those roles, and then really empowering them and enabling them to be able to, two weird words, but having them really participate in the process. I like to do recordings, and I will have people watch back their own recordings. It can be painful sometimes, but then we start looking at the self-evaluation. Two of my favorite questions to ask my students are, what did you say that, what didn't you say that you needed to, during a role play? And then the harder question is, what did you say that you wish you didn't say? I ask those two questions all the time, and amazing results. we have to teach how to integrate the technology with our people skill sets to be able to be effective, and have the students be involved all along the way. Like I said, start this small, pick one class, one company, one scenario, one case study, and start it from there. That's how this all begins.
Love it. Denise, Melissa, any?
Oh, I was just thinking of, our students, I have them present at different clubs and organizations as well. So, to talk about what either say they're on the robotics team, or they're on the, trying to raise money for something, or they just want to talk about our amazing academy programs because the Rotary has invited us. And I usually am not the one, believe it or not, doing the talking. They're the ones that are showcasing what's going on. And I think that alone helps them to build those communication skills, helps them to build those confidence, being able to feel accepted out in the business community and into the what the proverbial world, right? Because when they're in school, it's like a nice little comfort zone, right? Yeah. They don't whatever they do there is whatever they do there. It's not going to really affect anyone but them, right? Mm-hmm. Honestly. So to teach them when they go out into public, and like we've had great luncheons where we've been invited to, where they are very fancy luncheons, and you have to share with them what's the etiquette of a fancy lunch, of how to, accept the beverage, or to, put the napkin on the lap, things of that nature, those kinds of things that maybe they're not exposed to. So I think, making sure they aren't, inside that little dome of school, and be able to reach out beyond the school walls to know what's out there. And I think that helps them to want to be, go above and beyond what they want to be, right? Because when they see and get to be a part of like that type of environment that they've never been a part of before, they're like, I want to do that. I want to be something more important than, what I was thinking before.
So Denise, actually, if I may, very quickly, I know we're running out of time here. You just picked up on something that I see on a daily basis, is working across the different countries and cultures. This is a global world now. This isn't just the United States. And I am on calls yesterday, Portuguese and Spanish, and I don't speak either of those. And the countries that we were working with. So I do have some AI tools that are helping me with some of the translations in the narration on the slide. So we're able to communicate. But knowing that when I talk to my, I won't name the countries, certain countries I speak with, if I start out with the American way of let's talk about business, it doesn't work. We have to talk about their health and their families. And so knowing which countries to talk, not only knowing what technology tools to use, but knowing how to interact with all the different cultures. And again, I think that goes to what Melissa said earlier about, DEI. And that being understanding that there's so much more to what we're doing now, and the pressures are so much greater. Last comment would be about ESG, so environmental, social, and governance. Lots of jobs. That's lots of opportunity in the ESG space, and that there's again funneling technology to solve social good things, right? And that's so a lot of it's got an appeal for a lot of students now in the ESG space.
Melissa, anything you want to add?
I think I read a recent report from the Burning Glass Institute, and it really talked about how we need to kind of be future focused in all that we do now more than ever. And even that the most in-demand skills from 5 years from now don't even exist yet. So we need to consistently kind of stay up to date with emerging technologies inside the classroom, incorporate it, as much as possible, I think, into what we're doing. So that means that educators need to be adaptable to help their students adapt and change to this kind of ever increasingly changing technology. And I think that that's a really important thing to remember, but educators aren't alone on that. There's a community, we talked about partnering with industry. We're all in this kind of future focused area together. And I think it's really exciting because I'd love to know what those high in-demand skills are going to be in the next 5 years that don't even exist yet. So we just need to stay on top of it and stay ahead of it if we can. Some days I'm learning about the same things that you are about Microsoft releases, and it's just insane, the pace of innovation and the pace of technology changes. So the more that we can stay ahead of it or kind of grapple with it together, bring it into the classroom, the better.
Love that. Yeah, I think it's like Kevin mentioned, resiliency, but also flexibility. It's going to change. It's going to continue to change. So let's roll with it, like Melissa just said, and kind of create it together. You know, those jobs don't exist, and they won't exist until we all get together and create them. And so I think that's wonderful. Everyone, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciated it. I think it was a great discussion. I think our educators will love it. I love the ideas that we shared, and I just thank you so much for your time.
A pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Have a great afternoon.